It's about time we got back to one of my favorite things. Cheesy 80s cartoons based on toys that nobody had. Robotix was a toy line released by Milton Bradley in 1984. Neither I nor anyone I knew had the toys, but based on the commercials, I kinda wish I did. It was essentially a building set where you can create vehicles and robots that you can move around with a control panel. Man, I wish I could do that now.
Don't you even think about it.
No, that's not what I meant. But as was the case with many 80s toys, Robotix got an animated series. However, unlike most series at the time, the 15 episodes that were produced were only 6 minutes long. They were then later smushed together in what they called Robotix the Movie. So not only is this a cartoon based on an 80s toy, but it's also a cobbled together hack job movie. Oh boy. It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? The movie was released on DVD in the UK, but it never made it over to the US. Oh no, how unlucky. But I got the VHS, so I guess that's good enough. You know, the one thing that sucks about collecting old tapes is that sometimes they come in weird packages. Most likely from a rental place. I've never seen this kind before, and I can't get the tape out. Ugh. Ugh, come on! Wait, what's this? Squeeze and shake. Okay. Oh, come on! God, it won't come out! Ah, come on! Ah, there we go. Alright, so let's take a look at this mess. Here's Robotix the Movie. The movie opens with a group of humans from God knows where trying to escape from someone.
It's too late, Exeter. Thanks to you, we're dead meat now.
Canuck, stop your knees knocking so I can hear myself think.
Yeah, get off his case, Canuck.
Yeah, Canuck, stop being an asshole. They get shot down and the ship that was pursuing them just flies off. Yeah, they never explain who was chasing them or why they were being chased in the first place. I'm just gonna assume it's a bunch of intergalactic hooligans causing trouble. Curse those dickholians! Always shooting down ships for no reason! They exit the ship and immediately are greeted by two giant scary robots bursting out of the ground. Jeez, talk about having a bad day.
Thanks for lending me a hand.
Robotix! Our accessories are interchangeable. Also... They break it up and the good Robotix, called the Protectons, yes, Protectons, take notice of the vermin that are now infesting their planet. They agree to help repair their ship, and then the kid named Zaru makes an interesting discovery with one of the Protectons who happens to be female.
Okay. Whoa. Okay.
What's happening?
I don't know, but it sure is neat.
This just got weirdly Freudian.
Are you sure this is a kid's show?
And this isn't the only time it gets weird.
Try this.
Oh, that's more like it.
That's right, baby. I know how to push a lady's buttons. Well, no time to overthink that, because the bad guys, called the Terracores, come back for more. And we need to take a moment to appreciate how ridiculous the Robotix are designed. Look at this one. He's got weird wheel feet. It doesn't make any sense. But it's okay, because the humans discover they can interface with them and rearrange them into slightly more useful designs to fight the Terracores.
Those warm-blooded creatures enabled the Protectons to defeat us.
Then our next course of action
Is crystal clear.
We're getting out of this franchise! Call Megatron, see if the Decepticons are hiring! After the brawl, the Protectons explain their origin to the humans. It turns out they and the Terracores were two races of lizard people. The Protectons were peaceful and the Terracores were evil. In case that wasn't obvious by looking at them. The Terracores built a giant warship called the Terror Star, not to be confused with the Death Star, But in order to use it, they need to steal an advanced AI the Protectons created called CompuCore, which looks like a horrifying cross between E.T. and the MCP from Tron. So the Protectons go to war with them in their hilarious and impractical UFO. Okay, I know this is a dumb 80s cartoon based on a toy, but how the hell does that thing even work? Transformers had more practical designs, and they had a character that was both a train and a spaceship. But it looks like their conflict gets cut short because a nearby star is going nova and spells doom for their planet. And we get some pretty graphic images of people dying and riots.
Definitely not for kids.
Yeah, I'd like to remind everybody that this cartoon was based on a toy line of buildable robots and vehicles. So to avoid destruction, the entire population is put into stasis, but a radiation leak forces CompuCore to download everyone's mind, because she can do that, I guess, and transfer some of them into the Robotix. For some reason. This causes Argus, the leader of the Protectons, to blurt out one of the best outcries of "No!" I have ever heard.
What? What has happened to me? I have become a Robotix! No!
Eat your heart out, Calculon. The Terracores try to take advantage of this and steal CompuCore, but the Protectons fight them off and burst through the ground, which is where they met the humans.
This was a fine place to live once.
But at least we made out better than that neighboring planet. What was it called again? Krypton? It seems repairs are going to take longer than expected and rations are running low. Canuck and the other members of the crew that look evil get impatient and go off to join the Terracores and see if they can use their ship to escape the planet. So far this has been pretty standard for an 80s toy cartoon. But about now is when the problems with gluing together a movie from a series of animated shorts begins to show. First off, things get a bit confusing because there's not really a whole lot that distinguishes the characters. The humans are flat and uninteresting, and the robotics all look too similar. Some are different enough, like the four-legged female one, but a lot of them look the same. And when there's a lot of action going on, it's hard to keep track. And there is a lot of action in this. It almost doesn't stop. It gets even more confusing when they add a few more robotics with more characters we don't know or care about.
Protecton Essence 60329, Contour, is in the pre-transfer area.
Ah, good old... what's his name? Then the Terracores replace one of the Protectons with one of their own people, and he stays undercover for most of the movie. And I kept forgetting about him because you need a chart to figure out who's who in this movie. What kills me is that CompuCore just does this for them without question.
Protecton Essence returned. Terracore Essence 92763, Venturak, is now in the pre-transfer area. Should I release or erase?
Release him!
CompuCore only does what the plot demands. Also, why is erase an option? I mean, it just seems like a bad thing to program into a machine that holds the consciousness of your entire planet. And to prove my point, the Terracores actually end up deleting Argus.
Isn't there anything we can do?
Options always exist. You could, for example, instruct me to activate his backup copy.
Backup copy?
Of course, all computers can provide copies of their data.
Oh, never mind. Good thing they back up their data.
Well, why didn't you tell us this before?
You did not ask.
Oh, CompuCore, you are programmed to be hilarious. Have I properly expressed how dumb the humans are? Well, if not, then watch this. What was your plan there, Flynn Rider?
All of a sudden, these big hands were swatting at me.
You did your best.
Yeah, you really tried hard to clobber that giant robot with a frying pan.
Oh, Mama, I have got to get me one of these.
Personally, I would have used a wok. They're a lot harder. Speaking of food, here's something that really pissed me off. So they established the humans have a limited food supply, which is why the crew split up.
Unfortunately, Toron's tests show the food on Skalor is poisonous.
But those tests were of this region. Now that CompuCore knows your nutritional requirements, she can scan the surface of Skalor for edible vegetation.
What? You didn't even bother looking elsewhere for food? Ugh. The characters on Gilligan's Island are better at survival than these morons. Well, at least we get to see some weird locations on this stupid planet, and a few bizarre creatures like these rock lords. No! Have we learned nothing from GoBots? But the one thing that really gets my goat is how blatantly this show tries to be Transformers. You might think I'm just saying that because it's an 80s cartoon about robots in space that transform, but there are way too many parallels. Later on, we meet a character that sounds and acts an awful lot like Grimlock.
Boltar, help! Me, Grimlock, no like you!
Also, there ends up being dissension in the ranks of the Terracores, and one of them tries to overthrow their leader.
It is time for a new leader.
You, sir, are no Starscream. Starscream was way whinier. Not only that, but Sunbow, who did a lot of the cartoons based on Hasbro toys, produced this one, and some of the staple voice actors from Transformers were in this, including Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, and Michael Bell. Fun fact, in 1984, Hasbro bought out Milton Bradley, and the Robotix animated series came out in 1985. So clearly all of the decisions in this were intentional. So what? Was Hasbro not content with having one of the biggest toy lines in the world? They had to have two of them? How greedy can a toy company get? The final straw for me with this movie was how it ends. The Protectons defeat the Terracores, and the humans decide to stay on the planet.
What do you say, guys? Do we go or do we stay?
We stay!
Yeah, good thing we don't have any friends or families or anything. Let's just stay on this planet until we starve to death. And since there were no more Robotix cartoons made, I assume that's what happened. This movie, while admittedly having a few funny moments, is completely pointless. They tried to turn a toy line that had no story into something more than it was. Now, there are examples of that being done fairly well, like Jason the Wheeled Warriors. But as I said in my review, the story they gave it was very ambitious. They turned what is essentially nothing into something. With Robotix, all they did was rehash already existing ideas from something better. Say what you will about the G1 Transformers cartoon, for all its faults, it still had a certain appeal and likable characters that resonated with people even to this day. When I was done watching Robotix, I honestly couldn't remember the names of any characters. They were that uninteresting. Interestingly, they actually tried to turn Robotix into a comic as well. Not much to say about it, as it pretty much just retells the beginning of the cartoon. And no, they don't explain who is chasing them at the beginning. Oh look, a GoBots ad. Now that's funny. But what gets me is that this is the only issue, despite implying that there'll be more. So, Defenders of Dynatron City got 6 issues, Solar Man got 2, and Robotix only got 1. Wow. Talk about bottom of the barrel. All Robotix featured was a forced storyline and flat forgettable characters. The toys may have looked awesome, but the cartoon was a waste of time. So in conclusion, just watch Transformers and forget this existed. Well, it's the end of the year, and that means a Christmas review. So hopefully we can end 2016 off well, because I've been tossing way too many cartoons lately. I need to go clean that up.
To survive a cosmic storm that devastates their planet, the Protectons and Terracores are forced to transfer their essences into the huge, powerful bodies of Robotix.
Robotics. Who puts the future in your hands?
Robotics. I hope you can see this because I'm doing it as hard as I can.